Okay, so I think we're ready to get started. If anybody else joins, they can jump in progress. So welcome everyone to the first in a series of webinars focused on your library website. So my name is Andrew Nierenhausen from Technology Services at YRL. And today we're going to be talking about pages on your website. So this is hopefully going to be a good primer for those of you who are totally new to websites. But we're also going to cover a few tricks that are a bit more advanced and give you some stuff to think about, and a bit of discussion about navigation and website structure. We're also going to talk a bit about the new record set feature for content pages, which I know a lot of people are interested in. So there is a lot to cover and learn today. And I'm going to try and keep this under an hour with room for questions. So the webinar is being recorded. If you want to come back and watch it again, we'll send out links for that afterwards. It will be made available for you. And post any questions that you have as we go along in the chat. I'll be answering those at the end of the session, and Laura's here as well. She can chime in if there's anything that she can handle there. So we can get started here. I'm just going to cut my camera and share my screen with you. Okay, so let's get started. So what is a web page? A web page is a place on your website where you can display content like text, pictures, video, or record sets. And a web page has a unique address, and that's going to be the URL at the top of the page there. So these pages make up the majority of your website, and they're also the most flexible part of your website to try new things with. So you can see that your website allows for a variety of media and content, as well as a lot of the basic text editor functions like hyperlinks, font, size of text, bulleted lists, things like that. So we're going to take the majority of the time today is going to be in the back end of Sitecore, walking through how to actually use these tools to make your pages. But I'm going to start talking with a brief note on structure. And I think this is good. It kind of informs the rest of what we're going to do today. So when creating pages for your website, it's really easy to keep adding more. But it's really important that we don't overwhelm website users. So there's a principle of website design where if it takes more than 2 or 3 clicks for a user to find what they're looking for, they're probably going to give up. And if they give up, that means they're either not going to get the resource they want, or they're going to give you a call to help them find it. So yeah, this means if users can't see what they want, they're going to give up almost right away. And there's 2 easy ways to deal with this. And so we're going to go over these, and I want you to keep these in mind going through the session, but also when you are going to work on your own websites. So the first of these is to have less pages, which sounds pretty simple. So if you have several pages that are kind of empty, you might want to group them together on a single page instead of having a series of pages. So for example, you might have a page for computer access, a page for printer copier information, a page for your free Wi-Fi information, but you could probably bundle all these pages together into a digital services page or something along those lines. This puts all of that information within one click of the user, so they're not hunting around your site. And this doesn't totally solve the problem. You still need to organize the page in a way that lets the patron know what they're going to find there, but it can be more efficient if you have a lot of pages on your site. So the second concept is around creating good menus or navigational tools. So this works better if you have less pages, as your menus aren't so full and hard to navigate. But even if you have a lot of important pages that you really need to keep, you can structure your menus in a way that makes pages easier to find. So again, you want to minimize the amount of top level menus on your website, but you can also utilize submenus. And I like to point out Westlock Libraries website because they do a really great job of this. So under their menus, they have these submenus. So instead of having 15 or 20 options drop down in a straight line, you can split these up into categories. And I'll show you a bit about how to do that once we get into the back end of the site here. So yeah, you want to keep in mind less pages and creating good menus or navigational tools. And the best way to test this is through accessibility and usability testing. And I think this is something that you should all do. And it's really easy. It doesn't take very long, and you can get a lot of information from doing it. So to do this usability testing, you need a few testers, preferably people who aren't familiar with your website. So volunteers, family members, really anyone you can get rope into doing this. And you're going to ask them to find one or two specific pieces of information from your website. So something like information about late fees or where your donations page is, and you're going to set them on the homepage and set them to go find these things. So you just watch them work for a few minutes, see how long it takes them to find the information, see how many times they click things on your page, and that'll give you an idea about the structure of your website. So if everyone finds the information relatively quickly in a few clicks, then no problem. But if all of your testers get lost or they're confused about things, then you may want to think about restructuring your website a little bit through either less pages or menus. Now let's talk a little bit about creating pages. So I'm going to jump over to Sitecore here. So if you have Sitecore login credentials, you can feel free to follow along from the back end of the site, but you're also just fine to watch along today. If you don't have access to your library's website, you can send me an email after the session at wsfl@yrl.ab.ca, and I can help you get set up with a login or get that from your supervisor. So once we're logged into Sitecore, we're going to go into the content editor, and this is where probably 95% of our work on the website takes place. If you are brand new to your library website, I would recommend you check out our website training course on Niche Academy, which will get you started with the basics and bring you through a lot of the advanced concepts as well. You'll also find more information on the topics that we're covering today. So you can access those by, one way is going to the Yellowhead website, yrl.ab.ca, under training. And it's the first one right at the top here. You can go to website training course. And all of these video courses are available. So I'm going to be referring to this a few times today as we go through. If you're on the YRL intranet, you can also access this training from the training section or from the website section. So, okay, so let's open this up. If you worked on your website before, you're familiar with the tree. We call this a tree because it branches out as it expands. And yours will just contain your library, but today I'm going to be hopping around in a few different libraries here. So we'll open up the tree to the home section. And here we can see the contents of your website. So this is everything that makes up the site that your users see. It's all contained here. And looking at this list, we can get a lot of information about the structure of your site. So each of these listings corresponds to a page on your site. So we can look at something like adult literacy services for Westlock here, and we have this menu. And if we open up this drop-down menu here, we can see that these same options show up here. So you can see roughly how the back end of your site is organized. So let's talk a bit about the different kinds of pages that we find here. So for today, we're going to ignore most of the kinds of pages on your website, events, news, e-resources, some of the other pages with other icons here. They all behave in different ways. But again, you can find out more about them from our website training course. So we are going to focus on the blue section pages and the green content pages. So the reason that the blue pages are called section pages is because they act like containers for content pages. Each menu item is a section of the website filled with content. So if we go to one of these section pages, say this one, for instance, we can see that there's not a ton here. They've got an image here, but largely it is just links to the content pages below it. So generally what this means is that when you're creating a new section page, you do it under the home icon and it will become one of your menu options here. So the way to do that is when you're in the tree here, you right click on home and you insert a section page. So I'm not actually going to create any pages today because I don't want to mess up Westlock's site, but we'll take a look at what that would look like if we created one. So if we created a new page here, all of these fields would be ready to edit. If you have an established page, you're just going to want to click lock and edit to open that up. So running through the different fields on the page here. So the first thing you're going to notice is that we have a title, a menu title, and then also a name in the tree. And these are all the same for this page. They're adult literacy services. So why does this page have 3 titles? I think this is useful information to know. So let's actually head over to the adult literacy services page here. So the first one, title, is going to be the title at the top of the page. The next one here is going to be the menu title, and that is going to be the option that shows up in the menu. And the third one in the tree here, this is actually the URL for this page. So if we come back here, we can see that it's westlocklibrary.ca/adult literacy services. And you'll also notice that there's dashes between these words, and there aren't here. So what this is you can't have blank spaces in your URL. So those get filled with dashes. And what it means for us is that when you're creating new pages, you don't want to add any dashes here. It's going to confuse your browser. It's going to think those are supposed to be spaces, and it's just not going to connect to the page. So when you're creating new pages here, just make sure you're not adding a dash in there. And if you're having trouble seeing one of your pages, just double check that you haven't accidentally added a dash there. So moving through the fields here, we have the include in menu toggle box, and this just allows you to keep the page in the menu here. So if you untoggle that, this menu option would disappear. We have hide from in-page menu. And if we were to go to one of these pages, so this is an in-page menu here. You can keep pages out of this navigation if you want. Then we have the header image. This page doesn't actually have a header image, so something like on programs here, and I'll just hop over there to show you what this looks like. So there's your header image. And yeah, so this is an example of images in media, and I'm not going to cover a lot of that today. Again, there's more in the website training course. But this is a field that's distinct to the section page, and you're not going to see it on the content pages. And then we have the body section. And the body section is where any text or media is going to go. We're going to leave this for now because we're going to look at it a lot more for the content pages. But you could, if you wanted to, you could put content on your section pages, video, text, whatever. Lower down, we have popular in this section. And I want to see if there is an example of this. I think Adult Literacy Services has one. Yeah. So if you have an option selected for popular in this section, it just brings that link up to the top. You can see that that is also a link to a content page down below here. Below this, we have the metadata fields and the Facebook fields. I'm not going to touch too much on these today either. We might talk a bit more about summary when we get into the content sections, but again, more information in the website training course. So now that we have our section page, we're going to add a content page below it. And the way that you would do that is much like you clicked on the home page, we're going to click on the section page and we're going to insert content page. Again, I'm not going to create any new pages here. So we'll lock and edit that. So you'll see that pretty much all the fields are the same here. Title, same toggle boxes, the body section, and the metadata fields. So we're going to go into the editor here. So click Show Editor. And this should look pretty familiar to you. It's basically just a word processor with a few extra functions. So we have the ability to create tables, bulleted lists, bold and italicize, indent, change font and size. But there's 4 icons here that allow us to do some more interesting stuff on the page. And that's what we're going to look at a bit more for content pages. So we'll start by looking at the Hyperlink Manager. So if you want to create a link, you just need to highlight the text that you want to link. Click on the Hyperlink Manager. And from here, you'll paste whatever URL you want to use. We'll link to Google here. And you can also change the target window. This is something I like to do, change it to new window. So when someone clicks on your links, it actually just opens a new tab. And that way they don't have to keep going, back and forwards through pages. You can also add email hyperlinks. So this is really useful for contact pages. Maybe you have a staff member's name, you highlight it, you hyperlink, and then you paste in their email address here. And then when the user clicks on that, it opens up kind of an in-browser mail window so they can send you an email directly. But we'll just keep this link to Google, press OK, and you can see that this has turned into a hyperlink. So we're actually just going to clear that out. And this brings us to the next button here, which is Remove Link. Pretty simple. You just highlight the link and then hit Remove Link. So the remaining 2 buttons here are Insert Sitecore Media and Insert Sitecore Link. Insert Sitecore Media is for adding pictures to the page. And Sitecore Links is for adding documents like PDFs and also linking back to your own web pages. So to add an image, we'll just go ahead and add an image in here. Click Insert Sitecore Media, and then you're going to get the media library tree. And we're going to just open that up. We're in Westlock, so find the image that you're looking for, click on it, and press Insert, and that's going to drop into your editor. So you can do a bit of really basic image editing here. If you right click on your image, you can go to Properties. And I'm just going to shrink this down. So there's a little bit that you can do in there. You can do cropping and you can change image size. Generally, you want to do that stuff before you're adding it to the page, but you have a bit of flexibility here. You can also turn links into, or sorry, you can turn images into links. So if you just click on this image and you go to the hyperlink manager, we can add our Google link back here and press OK. And now you can see when I hover over this, this is turned into a link. And yeah, we can just go ahead and remove that link. And then the last thing we'll look at here is linking to a document. So you would highlight the text that you want to link and click Insert Sitecore Link. So you could use this to link directly to another page on your website, or you can go into the media library. A lot of times this is used for board documents, things like that, or programming calendars. A lot of times that's done in PDFs as well. So actually, we'll take a look at what that looks like. Here's one. So that's just going to open up as a PDF viewer in your browser. Okay, so after you've made your changes, you would go ahead and press accept. I'm not going to do that because I was just adding some junk to this page. So this is creating a page. But once you've done that, you need to make your pages visible to the public. So if these were new pages we had created, they're not going to be published yet. And to get them visible to the public, we're going to follow a quick 3-step process. And if you work with websites or you've done any website training with me, you will know this already, that we are going to save, check in, publish. I say this like a mantra when I'm doing any website work. So yeah, any changes that you've made, and we're going to save, check in, and publish. And we'll do that to the section page above as well. We're going to save, check in, and publish. And so this is a really critical step in creating your websites. Creating new pages, and also when you lock and edit to make any changes, just remember to save, check in, publish. So going along with this is deleting pages. So say I added a new page here, I published it to the site, took a look at it and thought, you know what, maybe we don't need that. I'll put the information somewhere else. But now I have to get rid of it. So I'd come back into Sitecore, and whatever page you wanted to get rid of, you'd right click and delete. And when you do that, it's going to disappear from this list in your tree. But it's not going to disappear from the front end of your site. And the reason for that is that you need to publish the deletion. And that's a little confusing when the page is gone. How do you publish it? You move one step up the tree. You'll lock and edit. So in this case, if we were deleting a content page, we would lock and edit our section page, and we would save, check, and publish. And what this is going to do is the section page is going to look below it, and it's going to check through each of these and say, that hasn't changed, that hasn't changed. Oh, this one's gone, that hasn't changed. And then it's going to implement those changes on the front of the site. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you're deleting your pages. Keep an eye out for that. So this is the basics of creating a page. So let's talk about a few more interesting things that you can do with your content pages. The first is adding embedded video. So this is a really easy way to increase the quality of the content on your page. Whether you're creating a storytime programming video, or you want to display a local news clip of the library, book club, really anything. There's tons of reasons you want to put video on your site. So we're going to work with YouTube to do that. I'm actually going to look at, switch over to Spruce Grove here. Okay. So yeah, we're going to work with YouTube today, but most video hosting sites have really similar steps for how to do this. Stuff like Vimeo, any other major video players. If you ever find a video and you're not sure how to embed it on your site, just contact us at wsfl@yrl.ab.ca, and we can probably help you figure out how to get that embedding code onto the website. So once you have a video that you want to use, it's super easy on the YouTube end. You're just going to go to share. You're going to click on the embed link here. And then you are going to click copy, and it's going to copy all of this, what we call iframe code. So we're going to return to our page. So this is our content page that we want to add our video to. And we're going to lock and edit. And we're going to click to show editor. And this is going to bring up our content editor. So we don't just paste the code here, because if we did that, it would just look like code. So we actually go down to the bottom of the screen here, and we have the design tab and we have the HTML tab. So we're going to go over to the HTML tab. For most people, seeing this is probably going to set off alarm bells. It looks kind of intense, and you probably don't want to get in here and start making changes. But adding video, there is no coding involved. And I've got a really easy trick for you to add videos into a page like this. And actually, we're going to get to that in just a second. But so just a quick crash course on what you're seeing here. The way HTML code works is that everything is bracketed. So there's a start and an end. And the main thing with posting video here is that you just don't want to post your video in the middle of some brackets. And the really easy way to see that is, we'll take a look over here. So this bracketed P, it means paragraph. So this is just some text. But if we follow that along, we get to the end and we see /P. And so that's the end of this paragraph. So we can safely go to the end of this and we can post some code after this. And it's not going to be in between some other code. But if you don't even want to worry about that, and you want a really easy way to do this, we'll head back over to the design tab. So maybe we want to put our video here. So the easy way to do this is to use a whole bunch of symbols. I usually just use a # or hashtag. Had a whole bunch of those in here. You can use really anything that just a symbol that stands out. We're going to switch back over to HTML. Go up to the top of the page. And as we scroll down here, you can see now that there's a whole bunch of #. So all we need to do is go to the end of that and paste our code. And we just switch back over to the design tab. And now our video is here. You can go ahead and remove those extra symbols. And no worries, you press accept and that'll show up on your page. One other way to do this, if you really just don't want to touch HTML at all, is to start a new page and start with the video. You create a new content page and you go into the HTML section. It's going to be totally empty. And then you paste your video there. You come back to design and you can work around it. So there's lots of options here. Just don't be scared away by all of the code. I know it looks pretty intimidating. While we're on the topic of HTML, if you are familiar with HTML and CSS, you can go into the editor and into HTML and make some changes to your website. So I wouldn't recommend this unless you actually have some familiarity with HTML. But if this is something you're interested in and you want to learn a bit more about it, let me know, wsfl@yrl.ab.ca. I've got some good resources for easy HTML, and we can talk about that. Yeah, there's also third-party plugins, and I'm going to take a quick look at Beaumont's site right now because they use one of these plugins. So there's a lot of third-party plugins that you can use that use an iframe code or some other embedding code that you can paste into your content pages and have things show up. So in this example, they have a libcal calendar here. It's not going to work in every case. It really depends on who the third-party company is. But if this is something you have questions about, again, let me know. We can take a look and we can figure out if it's something we can add to your site or help you add to your site. So the last thing I want to look at today is the new record set feature for websites. So let's take a look back at this Spruce Grove page. So these record sets are a little bit different than the ones that display on your homepage. The content page is a bit more narrow. It's kind of this like center third column of your page here. And the record set only displays 3 items across. You can add more rows down below, like so. But you can only have 18 items in a record set. And this is the same as the record sets on the front of the page. They can only have 18 items as well. So the record set can be placed in 2 different spots on the page. One is at the top here, kind of between the title and the content. And then the other one is just down at the bottom of the page after the content section. So yeah, you can do one or both. And so setting up a record set on a content page is a bit more advanced than we're covering today. Hopefully we're going to be doing a bit more training on that in the near future. It's just a new feature that we're figuring out and how to do the training for it. But it doesn't mean that you can't get started with record sets right away. So you can email us at wsfl@yrl.ab.ca, and we can put these record sets up for you very quickly. There's just a few things that we need from you to get started with it. So the steps for you to set one of these up is going to be creating a bibliographic record set with between 1 and 18 items. Save that record set and copy down the record set ID. And that is the 6 or 7 digit number that's going to be in the top left corner of the record set when you save it. And then you're going to send the record set ID to the WSFL email and let us know what page you want the record set to display on and whether you want it to be on the top or the bottom of the page. So if you have 2 record sets, let us know which one goes on top and which one goes on bottom. So that's a bibliographic record set, the record set ID, and where on the page you want it, and what you want it to be called, what you want the title of the record set to be. And all this information about record sets, and actually more information about record sets, is in the website training course. So you can go there to check out a little bit more. So today we covered the pages on your website, what web pages are, what the section and content pages are, what kind of features and functionality they have, how to embed videos, how to display record sets, maybe even getting started with a little bit of HTML coding. And as I mentioned at the start, and I want to bring this up again, we talked about organization and accessibility on your website. So a reminder to try and create less pages if possible, and to keep structured menus. And also, I highly recommend everyone does a little bit of usability testing. And again, this doesn't have to be super formal. You can grab someone, take 5 or 10 minutes and, have them play a little capture the flag, trying to find something on your website. And I think you can learn a lot about your website from doing a little bit of usability testing. So that's what we covered today. Are there any questions?
It's pretty quiet in the chat so far, Andrew. Feel free if anybody has any questions. Now is a good time to ask. Then again, it might be something that comes to you at dinner time. And if that's the case, I have put that email address again in the chat if you need to contact Andrew at any time, as well as the link for that website training course that he has mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can email me at any time or the WSFL email. So I see question from Brittany. What plugin do you recommend for adding a calendar? So this is kind of up to your preference. I know right now some libraries are looking at libcal, which is a SpringShare product, but it's not a free product. And I don't actually know what it costs, although I do know you can do licensing through Tal. Tal does licensing for SpringShare products. If you find a third-party calendar software, let me know and I can take a look at it and see if it's something that we can put on the websites. I don't know any off the top of my head, but that is also something I could look into for you. So I will actually mark that down. Okay. Any other questions here? I know I was kind of blazing through material today.
You either covered everything incredibly well, or we have a quiet bunch or a combination thereof, or it's going to pop into people's heads later, I imagine.
Okay, well, I mean, if any questions come up, definitely send those our way. So thanks to everyone for coming today. I want to give a final plug for our website training course. I think it's a really great resource. I'm a little biased because I made it, but I think it's really useful if you're using the website a lot to maybe have that bookmarked as a resource you can check out when you need it. Yeah, let us know if you have any questions. We'll be sending out the recorded video afterwards. And our next technology webinar is going to be on March 10th, and we're going to cover everything to do with carousel banners on the websites. So if you're interested in carousel banners and how to set those up and how to get some attention-grabbing banners, come join us on March 10th.
So and one last thing, there will also be an evaluation that will be sent to you via email after this, and it would be really fantastic if you could fill that out and get it back to us. Thanks so much. Have a good day.
Thanks, everyone.